If every time you stop marketing, your visibility disappears, the problem isn't your effort, it's that the things you're doing aren't compounding. Welcome to the Outcome Academy podcast. I am Ginny Seeley. I'm a business strategist and longtime process improvement expert, and I also co-own an appliance service business and a co-working space with my husband, Joe. So I understand what it looks like to juggle growth, leadership, family, and big dreams all at once. If you're a service-based entrepreneur or executive who wants to stop putting out fires and work on your business and build momentum with systems, smart marketing, and practical tech, you are in exactly the right place. I want to start here because this sentence explains so much of the quiet frustration business owners carry around. You're not doing nothing. You're doing something, but it never seems to stack. You post and then stop. You write and then you disappear. You show up and then you get pulled back into the day-to-day of running the business. And when you return to your marketing, it feels like you're starting from zero again. That feeling, the constant reset, is one of the clearest indicators that there isn't a system underneath of your effort. And if you know me by now at all, you know that systems are what we do here at Outcome Academy. In the last episode, we talked about how AI search is changing the way customers find businesses. We talked about patterns, we talked about consistency, we talked about trust signals. Today, we're going to go a little deeper because the businesses that benefit from those changes aren't doing anything flashy. They're not chasing all the trends and looking for clicks, and they're not posting constantly. They've built something underneath their marketing that allows it to keep working even when their attention shifts. And that's what we're going to unpack today. You know, I've mentioned a course that we have called the Compound Marketing Machine, and we're going to kind of do a high-level overview of the steps that we go over in there, because if you can take that away from this podcast and DIY it, you'll be in a much better place than you were before you started listening today. So compounding doesn't happen when you try harder. It happens because your effort is allowed to stay in motion. If you think about compound interest in the bank, your money compounds because it stays invested. When you have habits that you're trying to work on, habits compound because they repeat automatically. And trust compounds when it's reinforced over time. So basically, you do what you say you're going to do, you show up consistently, and those efforts compound. Marketing without a system relies on your memory, your motivation, how you feel that day, and availability. And anything that relies on those types of things that can kind of come and go depending on your mood or the weather or what's going on in your business, those things can be fragile. Most business owners don't try to avoid marketing, and you're not either. You just might be approaching it reactively instead of proactively. So when things slow down, when guilt kicks in, when fear spikes, when someone reminds you, that will create activity. But the trick is it's not creating momentum, because the moment the pressure eases and things start picking up and the phone starts ringing, all of a sudden you're busy doing the work in your business and the marketing activity stops. And compounding requires continuity. Marketing is usually one of those areas in our businesses that kind of live in our head. Maybe not your head, maybe your marketing manager, but somebody's head. Some ideas written down in notebooks here and there, a quick note in your phone, some half-written drafts, plans that reset every single month. And every time you think about marketing, you have to decide kind of everything from scratch. What should I say? Where should I post it? Does it even matter? And that decision load alone is enough to make you kind of avoid it entirely. And so it's not really a discipline problem, it's a system design problem. When marketing becomes infrastructure in your business, everything changes. Infrastructure works quietly behind the scenes. It doesn't rely on urgency. It keeps functioning when your attention moves elsewhere. You don't think about your electrical system every day, for example, but your lights still run. You don't think about your heartbeat and breathing because those things happen automatically in the background. And that's the way that we want to think about the marketing in our business. This brings me to one thing that I really want to make a point about here, and that is ownership. it's really important to think about the things that we actually own in our marketing. For example, your website, you own that. Of course, you have to pay the fee to get your domain and you have to pay for the hosting, but you own that. It's not dependent on an algorithm or somebody's mood or a change in that company, and then suddenly you go down, or they think you did something wrong and they take it down. You own your website. You own your domain. You own your email list, which is one of the things that oftentimes people overlook and think is not really that important, but that is a huge asset that you own. Your social media accounts and search platforms matter, but those are rented space. This compound marketing system that we're going to go over in just a minute prioritizes your owned assets first, and then we use some of the rented places online as distribution channels. Ownership creates stability for you, and that stability allows you to compound your marketing work. So let's dive into the 5 steps of the compound marketing machine. And I kind of want to walk you through these, and then we'll talk about each one a little deeper today also. So step 1 is kind of the basis for the whole system, and that is your monthly website content. And some people feel more comfortable in front of the camera and they like doing video content. That's totally fine if you want to do video content, but also really important to have some type of written content on your website. And this is kind of like your anchor. You want to make at least one thoughtful, helpful piece of content each month that lives on your website. And you want to do this consistently. And that's kind of why I teach once a month, because all of us can mostly do once a month content. When you start thinking about posting every single week or every day or twice a week or something like that, starts to feel overwhelming really quickly. So allow yourself to just commit to one really helpful piece of content per month that lives on your website. And it's great if that starts as a YouTube video and then you take that transcript and then convert it to a blog post on your website. Fantastic. We're not going for volume. We're going for permanence. And we want your digital footprint to grow quietly over time so that all of those information pieces that you're putting out there that are super helpful and relevant to your audience compound. One of the biggest reasons people don't build compounding content is because they don't really know what to write about. If that's you, then in the show notes for this podcast episode, I want to share with you a free resource. And it is one of the resources that we have in Compound Marketing Machine just to get people started. And it's called the Blog Post Idea Generator GPT. And of course, whenever you're using a custom GPT that somebody else creates for you in ChatGPT, you're going to want to make sure that you're already logged into ChatGPT. And then if you click the link, it'll take you right to that GPT. And then you can just start brainstorming some blog topics. And I want to also bring your attention to a resource that's online. And I think you can search in there once a day for free. And it's called answerthepublic.com. It's run by a fellow called Neil Patel. And you can go in there and search different ideas of content that is relevant in your industry and find out what other people are searching for. Another really great place to look is just to go on Google and search, and then go to the AI search feature and then look for other relevant things that people are searching for in that area. So those are just a couple of little hacks to get you started on what you think you might like to focus on for some topics. But if you don't want to do all that, you can just sit here and think back for a minute about what customers are asking you all the time. Marcus Sheridan talks about answering the questions that your customers are asking that nobody else wants to answer. So if you can think of some things that people are asking all the time, but other people in your industry are afraid to answer it for some reason, that is a goldmine of content that you can dive into and write about. So step 1 is getting that written piece of content on your website so it can live there forever. And every time you add something each month following that, you're just building your beautiful content library. Step 2 are the visual assets that reinforce your brand recognition. I talk a lot about in Brand Builder Blueprint that your logo is not your brand. We sometimes think that our logo is our brand. It's not. Your brand is composed of many facets about you and your business that help people remember who you are. Some of that is consistent colors, consistent fonts, And if you have a logo or a uniform or your trucks and they're lettered, all of that stuff together creates a memory cue for people to recognize your brand. So if you think of something like Target or Tiffany or Nike or even Starbucks, you know the colors, you know their logos, and you can recognize them right away. And it's not just always the logo, it's the look and feel. So your graphics that go along with your post should always look and feel the same. Consistent colors, consistent fonts, consistent presentation. So you're going to create some type of visual asset that goes along with your post, and then you're going to get that ready for the next steps. Step 3 is your monthly newsletter. I know, sometimes people feel like that's a waste of time. Nobody opens their email and they don't want to be spammed. But even if they never open your email, you remain top of mind in your customer's mind because they see you showing up in their email box once a month, at least. And if they don't want to hear from you, they can always unsubscribe. So don't ever feel like you're interrupting anything sending emails. We constantly get responses back from people saying how much they appreciated the email that we sent them. We get responses saying, thanks for sharing your family update. We get responses from people saying, oh, thanks for emailing me. It just happens that my dryer's broken right now. So your email list is how you can keep yourself top of mind consistently. And I want you to take this away for this step. Familiarity compounds. So you see people showing up in your email all the time and you might delete it, but you remember their name. You know who Verizon is, right? They show up in your email all the time if you're a Verizon person. So think about the people that you interact with regularly. You get their emails, even if you delete it, they're on your mind and you know that they're out there when you need them. Step 4, strategic distribution. This is where you take your digital creation, your picture that you associated with your content, and you're going to push it out to all of the different social platforms that you show up on. So you want to start with your Google business profile and do an update there. You're going to put it out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Nextdoor, all the different places where you show up already. And if you don't have an account on the main ones, you definitely want to make sure you create yourself an account. And if you are somebody that likes step-by-step things, the Brand Builder Blueprint helps you with your foundation for your brand. Compound Marketing Machine will walk you through every single detail in all of the platforms to do all these steps. But if you're a DIYer and you already know how to work all this stuff, this is just a really great strategy for you to write down step by step, go to the show notes, go to the transcript, and then you can have a little operation manual for the system behind your marketing. So step 4 is strategic distribution. Step 5 is all of the things that you do to show up as a human. This is really important. This is where your personality lives. These are things like moments with your team, things that you do in the community, small wins that you have as a company, any awards you win. All of these things are your extra posts that you're going to put in the middle of these monthly times that you show up with your content. If step 1 is creating your written content, step 2 is making your digital assets, step 3 is your newsletter, step 4 is making those posts. That all happens once a month. That's why this is so easy to compound, because this is not hours and hours and hours of work. This is something you can do once a month for a couple hours at tops. Step 5 is where you can pepper in your extra posts that make you feel human, allow you to connect with your community, things like that. So that's your 5-step program for the Compound Marketing Machine. The point is to keep it simple. Give yourself grace. If you have a really rough month and you didn't do any work that month, get right back on the bicycle and start posting your whole cycle again on the next month. None of these steps compound on their own. It's the interaction between all of these that create the momentum. And I can't stress enough that permanent content that's going to live on your website and always be there answering those important questions that people are searching for in their AI search, like we talked about in the last episode. Your content feeds your credibility. Your credibility feeds your trust. Your trust feeds visibility in the community, and visibility feeds opportunity, which makes your phone ring. So all of that momentum works in concert together. And if you remove that system, then you have to rely on your mood, the timing, your customer behavior, and all of that stuff to remember to post. And then you're just randomly posting on your social media and you're not actually creating that permanent content. So, friendly reminder, if your marketing stops when you're busy, it's not built to compound. If your visibility disappears without constant attention, it's not a system. And if it feels exhausting, it's not because you're behind, it's because your machine hasn't been built yet. So here's what I want you to sit with this week. What part of your marketing keeps working when you step away? Whatever that answer is, that's where you begin compounding. This is the kind of work we focus on at Outcome Academy. Not louder marketing, not chasing all the trends and clicks and all of those things, but building systems that hold steady over time. Every facet of your business, we're going to keep going in this podcast and talking about ways to systematize all of those little pieces, because that is what builds a valuable business. When in the future you decide you might want to sell your business, all of these things that you're doing slowly over time to systematize your business, that is what's going to make it worth way more than if you need to rely on everybody's memory to do all of these things. And especially if your business solely relies on you to be the one to remember all these things. You don't need urgency. You don't need perfection. You just need something that doesn't collapse the moment your attention shifts. Thank you so much, as always, for spending this time with me today. I'll see you in the next episode, and get cranking on your compound marketing machine. As you think about this week, notice where this shows up in your own business. If you want to go deeper into this work, including the Summit Club Mastermind and other ways we support service-based business owners, you can explore everything at outcomeacademy.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.